I'm a second generation African Caribbean woman. I'm wearing a dark blue scarf and a grey mottled jumper for the audio description. So I guess I want to first say that first and foremost, I'm a cultivator, and I share nourishment through cultivating self knowledge. This is my know your why. It's a message to each of you to know that every why that you've ever asked yourself can be responded to from that which is deep within you. Your purpose is as rooted in you as you are in your own context, whether you understand that context as your own body, your family, your organization, or your community. Everything around you that nourishes you becomes you. And why you are, why who you are, why you do what you do, why you lead like you lead, is in response to your relationship with all these different scales of yourself. And possibly it's why the ancients exhorted us to know thyself. The saying that has been my all time favorite is the one here: we see things not as they are, but as we are. And I like to link it to the popular saying, we are what we eat, but I prefer to slightly modify that to, we are what we take in. All of these are brought together in the Zulu expression of Ubuntu, which some may have heard of, which translates into, we are because I am, and I am because we are. Now, you might be asking, how do these things relate? Now, for me, they come together in meaning because, as I experience, we are relational beings. We are the hub of our own and co constructed realities. Our sense making emerges out of our relationships with everything that surrounds us and that we come into sensory contact with. All that enters within us and passes through us. Each and every one of these experiences becomes us, and we in turn become them. Rather than this being understood as a kind of imprisoned destiny type situation, I embrace it as a series of unending possibilities and opportunities to regenerate based upon a deep engagement with all that I encounter and have the potential to represent in the world. For the butterfly, creativity means drawing upon a recipe of ancestral lineage of flying insect encoded within its genetic material, blended with the energy of all that it has chomped its way through as a caterpillar. Its beautiful manifestation as a butterfly is within the context of an open and enabling environment where it leaves no footprint. It blends completely into the wider ecology of which it is also a part. This is an idea which we can apply to ourselves as human beings. We are forever becoming more of ourselves, drawing upon elements of our purpose within us and the environment we relate to. To be inspired by natural processes has been core to the way in which I work with others. I understand each of us as being a part of the many ecologies of human and more than human expression within the planet. We have given identities, yes, but more than that, we know that we hold capacities to project and reflect those parts of ourselves which can bring about optimal creative co creativity and co production. Whether we choose to use this potential or not depends on how much we can free ourselves of the limitations of a hegemonic vision of what the world is and can become and our place in it. What right have we to leave so large a footprint? At Community Centered Knowledge, we encourage a deep listening to each other, a discerning of underlying patterns, structures, and systems. We dance with each other's ideas, embracing the complex interplay that arises from interwoven bodies of experience. We try out proposals within shared protocols and test them through our bodies. How do they taste, smell, feel, and sound to us over both time and across the spaces we live, work, and play in? We draw upon a range of bodies of experience to bring in intercultural and intergenerational elements. We respect the plural truths of being that make up our planet, including the perspectives of trees, of clouds, of frogs, and indeed of dogs. And Quoodle in the G.K. Chesterton writing says, even the scent of roses is not as man supposes, and goodness only noses the noselessness of man. It is because of the knowledge of our personal human limitations that we might pursue something like this, Kevin Kelly's The Nine Laws of God. He's a tech guru and he's come up with lots of very innovative ways of thinking about complexity and chaos. Knowing and living these might enable us to access most from the chaos that is the ever changing many worlds in a world, or as we know as the pluriverse, that we traverse over our lifetimes. We distribute our being, we welcome in diversity. If there is any control, it is from the bottom up. Nobody is left out. We, using permaculture, we cultivate a yield, increasing returns by chunking, by incremental movement. We maximize the fringes, another permaculture principle where we understand that the interface with difference is where the most creativity, co-creativity is. We honor our errors, we learn from our mistakes and pursue not a single optima, but have multiple goals. Again, the call to diversity, seeking persistent disequilibrium, change. We understand changes itself. It's the only constant. The diversity of these many worlds, which we unfortunately mask with global and universal solutions, is what enables us to navigate complexity. It is blind sighted to be culture blind. We actually need to experience more, not less, in order to access our own purpose. Duality invites in the dialogic, but binaries banish the beauty of the spectrum of light with all the possibilities of seeing which are inherent within it. We inhabit multiple layers of being. We can center our ancestral lineages because we understand that narratives of lineage form family, which is the primary form of organization. We center our families and our organizations, which are slightly more complex families, because we understand that we have a place in them and they are the basis for community. We shape them and they shape us. However, there is ambient trauma in our society. We've had histories of trauma and it's here ambient with us. And unhealed trauma becomes personality. If it's intergenerationally passed on, it becomes a family norm or behavior. Passed between families in a community over time, it becomes culture. But, and importantly, when culture That kind of culture competes with strategy. Culture wins every time. So just consider all the strategies we engage with, but culture trumps it every time. And that last bit is a paraphrase from Resma Menachem and his very recommended book, My Grandmother's Hands. So indeed, work, healing trauma work is everybody's ultimate purpose. We hold a power then to hold aloft our cultural rights through performing its cultural rights. These are responsibilities as threads that we can use to interweave meanings at all levels of living organization. So, personally, organizationally, in community, and effectively in broader society. More than knowing our whys, our core purpose connects us to all we see and intuit. We reach inwards to come ever closer to knowing our true selves. Self knowledge, as knowledge of purpose, reaches into the alchemy of ever present change. We have these assurances that we who were rooted in lineage and community, leading on responsibility, embracing complexity and diversity, that we don't only know our whys, but collectively and organized, we can also know our whys. In being connected to the pulse of complex change, indeed, wisdom is our reward.